All right. I left you guys last week talking about creativity. Lady Warrell, I'll see you in the office in a little bit. Um, and I gave you all four. I believe I gave you all four ways, and I wrote it down for review so I can make sure that I was on point and I was right, and making sure that we were good. I think the first way that I told you all was to remove creativity killers. The second way I told you was to ask the right questions. Number three, I told you to develop a creative environment. Number four, I said spend time with creative people. Here's the last one. You have to get yourself out of the box. If you're going to find your creativity, today I want to talk to you about you have to get yourself out of the box. A lot of times we don't think that it's actually necessary to actually break rules. But I think that it's unwise to follow everybody's rules. Because if you follow everybody's rules, you will get what I call self-imposed limitations that will hinder you. Creative thinkers, and I believe I have some people on here with me. Creative thinkers are out of the box people. They know how to break out of boxes. They know how to set their own history. They know how to remove themselves from their own personal limitations in order to experience creative breakthroughs. The most effective way to help everybody get out of the box, hear me, is actually exposing yourself to new paradigms and new shifts. Let me give that to you again. The most effective way to help yourself get out of the box is to expose yourself to new paradigms and shifts. And one way that you can actually do that is that you got to go to places you've never been. So you got to travel to new places. You got to allow yourself to be exposed to new cultures and to new customs, if I can use that word. You have to find people, hear me, you got to even find people that are different in how they think and how they live. As long as you allow yourself to think like everybody else, to do like everybody else, to have the same status quo like everybody else, you'll never get to the place that you're actually supposed to be or destined to be, because you have people that will put a lid on you, and the lid is your limitation. I'm always curious. I'm always one that thinks on the outside of the box. I'm an over-analytical thinker. I'm one that thinks way down the road. I am one that love to learn about a subject. I love mastering things. So I love being part of things that I don't know nothing about. I love putting my hands to things that I'm not knowledgeable about. I love putting myself in a position to whereas that if I'm not the smartest person in the room, you better bet that by the end of the time that it's over, or that class would have expired, or that session or that season, you better believe I'm going to be the smartest person in the room. I love going to places where I can be a sponge and I can grow. If you're ever going to be out of the box, you got to be willing first to go into the other side of the comma, the uncharted territory, the unknown, if I can use that word, the unknown, and allow yourself to grow into that actual area. Y'all know I'm transparent, so watch this here. I still have a tendency to read books on my favorite subjects, like leadership. That's my thing. I'm going to always have some book on leadership. I'm going to deal with some area of leadership. And hear me, even now, I force myself to read stuff that broadens my thinking. You have to make sure that you're never complacent. You cannot be complacent if you're going to be on the other side of the comma. If you're going to break rules, you're going to break boundaries, you're going to break customs and traditions, you must make sure that you are broadening your thinking. You have to make sure that you know if you're going to broaden your thinking, hear me, you know that it's going to be worth it. The cover may not be what you want it to be, but the content on the inside ought to be good. I told my church, and I think I said this in Houston, a lot of us marry off of the cover, but don't know the content therein. Sometimes you got to buy something that got a nasty cover, because the inside and the content on the inside is what's going to broaden your horizon. If you want to break out of your own box, you gotta get into somebody else's. You gotta make sure that you are looking at the content of what it is that you're supposed to do. Let me give you this quote, and I pray that you receive it. The first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. The first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. I'm a person of great ideas, so I'm an idealistic thinker. Okay, I'm an idealistic thinker. I went out of my way to avoid too much realistic thinking, because I thought that always would be me having to consider the worst case scenario. I had to make sure that I am in a place where I understand. I'm on live. I'll call you back. Whereas when you look at the worst case scenario, a lot of times we would be too negative, and being negative would actually interfere with your creative thinking. Are y'all hearing me? I found that creative thinking is actually a skill. It has to be a skill that really has the realistic thinker who will undermine your faith in people. Actually, sometimes it will really lessen your ability to seize opportunity. So when you deal with realistic thinking, you hear me, you might want to write this down. You want to minimize downside risk. You want to minimize downside risk. Actions, hear me very carefully, actions always have consequences. Can y'all write that down? Actions will always have consequences. Realistic thinking helps you to realize and consider what those consequences could be. Hear me, that's why you got to know how to plan for them. My dad taught me this. He said, always expect the unexpected. He said, expect what could go wrong will go wrong. Expect if God is in it, hear me, there has to be a lot of adversity, a bunch of controversies, and a whole bunch of naysayers in it. You must understand that nothing is always going to be smooth sailing, but you must make sure that you are minimizing the downside risk. In realistic thinking, number two, you have to give yourself a target and a game plan. All right, write that down. You have to give yourself a target and actually a game plan. I want to say this, and I pray that you hear me very well, because this is going to be something that I'm going to say, and I believe somebody's going to agree with me, or it's going to be the wow factor of what you need. Hope is not a strategy. Please write that down. Hope is not a strategy. As you face reality, you're going to have to define the targets and develop the actual game plan that you're going to need, hear me, to simplify your practices and procedures, which will result in better efficiency. Everyone that's listening to me today, I want to speak this word into your life, that God is about to allow you to operate in efficiency. Oh, God help me, not just strategy. Let me give it to you again. You're about to walk in better efficiency and not just in a strategy. Okay? Realistic thinking is really the catalyst for change. Staring reality in the face actually makes a person, I wrote this down, staring reality in the face makes a person recognize the need for change. Change alone doesn't bring growth. Yes. But you cannot have growth without change. Did y'all hear what I say? You cannot have growth without change. So you're going to have to change some things. And I thank God for change. Some of us right now, we're changing directions. We're changing new leadership. We're changing our thinking. We're changing our perspectives. We're changing our content, our context. We're changing a lot of different things. And watch this here. Change is good, but you got to change with it. And if you're not going to change with it, what is the purpose of saying that you're growing? A lot of times we'll say that we're not growing based off of who we're connected to, and that's really not the case. Sometimes really we need to grow because, hear me, the value of a good idea is using it. Can you write that down? The value of a good idea is in using it. Let me give it to you one more time. The value of a good idea is in using it. But optimistic people, they don't possess a lot of times a whole lot of great desires to become more realistic in their thinking. But it's a skill that I want to say to you all that you all are going to have to learn. You're going to have to learn it. Continuing with the ideas of yesterday's thinking, you're going to have to learn how to have some benefits that come with realistic thinking. And I want to give you these 5. And then from there, I'm going to probably release you all for the day. I gotta get myself together. In realistic thinking, hear me, number 1, it provides security. In realistic thinking, it provides security. Anytime you have thought through the worst case of what the worst thing is that could happen, and you have developed some contingency plans to meet it, you will become more confident and secure in who it is that you are, knowing that you won't just allow a lot of things to throw you off. One of the things that I'm dealing with in life is that I have a whole lot of things that know how to throw me off. They used to. There was times to whereas I woke up, hear me very carefully, I woke up, and when I woke up thrown completely off. I have woke up, amen, saying to myself, like, what is really going on here? Y'all ain't talking. And some things will throw you off by surprise. But when you have security, when you know really the contingency plan for your life and what it is that God has called for you to do, you will make sure that you understand that you're more confident and secure in who it is that you are. And I thank God for that, because God, He never ceases to fail, and God will make sure that He stands with you in that process. The value of a good idea is in the using of it. So you got to make sure that in your realistic thinking that it provides security. Here's number 2. It gives you credibility. It gives you credibility. Yesterday, I preached from Leviticus 19. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I really dealt with that chapter because it was a chapter of not just holiness, but also a chapter that deals with credibility. And leaders who think realistically and plan accordingly to whatever it is that they're doing, they get the confidence that they're able to build and grow in that very dimension and area of what God is calling for them to do. When you are a realistic thinker, it also provides a foundation to build upon. It provides a foundation to build upon, which means it makes it usable. It will also remove the wish factor. When you are in God, words like luck does not exist. Yes. When you're in God, the word shall is what you should use. And there's some words in your vocabulary that you're going to have to stop using. You wish. You got to start saying it shall happen. There's a song that I played last night, and it's called It Shall Come to Pass. And you got to believe that whatever it is that you're asking God to do, that it shall come to pass. Whatever you're looking, God says it shall come to pass. So you got to have a foundation to build upon. A lot of people today are built on a poor foundation. They're not built on solid. They're built on quicksand. Y'all ain't saying nothing. They're built on a mud hill. And if you're not careful, you got to take your ideas and you have to take away that wish factor to believe that things are coming to pass for you. Realistic thinking is a friend to those that are in trouble. The reality thinking is that you will have a friend, hear me, a friend. You'll be a friend to those that are actually in trouble. It gives you some concrete to fall back on in the times of trouble. I love certainty, but hear me, in the midst of uncertainty, you got to know that God is going to bring stability to your life. Everything is not unto death. Everything must be at a place where God is going to expand and deal with your horizons, deal with the place where you're supposed to be. And God is saying stability is getting ready to be in your life. One thing that I know God is not a fond, affectionate person for are people who are nomads. You just bounce from place to place and just trying to find somewhere to lay your head, finding somebody to tolerate you, finding somebody to deal with you. You got to understand that God wants you in a place of stability. So God is about to bring major stability to your life. Okay, I'll give you a couple of more things and I'm getting ready to go. Okay, will you write this down? Realistic thinking brings dreams to fruition. it brings dreams to fruition, which means that if you don't take a realistic look at your dream, if you don't take a realistic look at your dream or your vision and what it's going to take for it to accomplish it, you're never going to achieve it.